All right, welcome back to Elvis and the Legends. It's time to read chapter 10 of the Anne Margret autobiography here. My story. And yeah, it's a beautiful day in Tennessee. The weather is getting much better. Is it still a bit cold? Yes, it is. That's why. Well, I got the fireplace going here. As you can see, it draws quite a bit of power there in my garage. So that's where I'm coming from today, is my garage. Got my guitar over here as well. Starting to come back and have a little bit of a voice. I haven't touched my guitar in a while. You know what I used to love singing was, "We're your friends, and by the day, he was selling everyone in town." That song. All the love that he has found. What is it? Anne Marie's the name of his latest flame. Very cool song. I ain't tried to sing that in a decade, maybe 2 decades. When I was young, I used to always play that record. Anyways, we're reading about Anne Margret here. They made it to California. They weren't originally going to California. They were going to Las Vegas for a show because they get hired. And then they got there and they kept the act on and said, "Hey, we don't have nothing for you here." They called the agent. The agent said, "Hey, why don't you come out to Hollywood? I'll get you something here." He went out to Hollywood. Agent didn't have anything. They stayed at this little hotel on Sunset Boulevard. Agent said, "Keep calling me back. I'll find you something." They called every day, 10 o'clock and 4 o'clock, and got nothing. So they went around, found a bunch of agents to meet with, and one of them helped out. And so they got a couple gigs. She broke up with her boyfriend, who was also in the band, and started dating some celebrity types. Now we're on chapter 10. So thanks for subscribing. Thanks for watching these videos, and make sure you find my other channel, Rare Elvis Photos, and hopefully a lot of y'all came from Rare Elvis Photos, and I need to keep reminding people to come over to the Elvis and the Legends channel. I hope you don't mind some of the other content that I put on this channel. Okay, it's not me talking, but it's information that I did put together, and so hopefully that matters to you. Here we go, chapter 10. Whether it was luck, talent, or a combination of the two, after the Elko engagement wound up, we managed to land 2 weeks at the Riverside Hotel in Reno. The Riverside was our best booking to date. The room was cozy, and the stage was large enough that I finally had some room to stray away from the microphone. Now, with room to move, I did what came naturally when I heard good music. I snapped my fingers, tossed my hair, did whatever it took to convey the feelings of the words and music to the audience. I suppose that was the genesis of the Anne Margret frenetic, feline moves that have punctuated my style and my career. Believe me, I don't orchestrate all that much of them. It's just a natural response to the music. Kind of like Elvis. It's just natural, right? People have always asked if I was influenced by anybody in television, movies, or music when I started in show business. My answer has never varied. No. When I said hello and good night, I was Anne Margret Olson. But in between, I was an actress who, instead of saying dialogue in a scene, sang the words to songs and let the music guide her movements. One night at the Riverside Hotel, a man named Frank Taylor came backstage after the show to offer words of encouragement and congratulations. Frank was producing The Misfits, which was being shot outside of town. The movie starred Montgomery Clift, Clark Gable, Marilyn Monroe, and Eli Wallach, and was the talk of Reno. Mr. Taylor was generous in his praise and warned that he'd be back, so the next night he returned bringing Montgomery Clift. After the show, they came backstage, and Montgomery Clift, sensing how scared I was, gave me a friendly hug and promised to see us again. Sure enough, several nights later, there was a small commotion in the back of the showroom. Frank Taylor and Montgomery Clift were back, joined by Eli Wallach. The threesome came backstage after the performance and visited for a generous period of time, asking more about our backgrounds and offering encouragement. Before leaving, they invited us to the set to watch them film. Now, it was the first time any of us had visited a movie set, and I was nervous as I could be. Everybody looked busy, important, and I didn't want to interfere in any way. So I stood quietly, trying to be as inconspicuous as possible, while at the same time trying to absorb everything going on. Then Eli Wallach recognized me. He waved and came towards me, and by his side was Clark Gable. Clark Gable, Miss Anne Margret Olson. He brought over his chair and sat down beside me. "So I heard that you attended Northwestern?" he said. "Yes," I nodded. "They have a fine theater department," he said. "Are you involved in an area of study?" "Yes, I am," I nodded again. "Speech. Maybe theater later." Now, I didn't want to say too much, in part because I didn't want to say anything wrong. Now, later that night, as I'd done after each of these encounters, I phoned home and breathlessly recreated for my parents my brush with Hollywood stars. I also explained how just before leaving, I'd caught a glimpse of Marilyn Monroe. From the distance, Marilyn struck me as a beautiful woman with a porcelain delicacy. I had no idea of the marital difficulty she was going through at the time with Arthur Miller. I sensed only the special splendor and style that made her a star. It was just a brief moment, I told Mother. I wish it had been longer. Now, several years later, Marilyn's stand-in, Evelyn Moriarty, M-O-R-I-R-T, Moriarty, I guess, coincidentally became my stand-in on a film and has worked with me ever since. I told her that I'd visited the set of The Misfits, and she remembered it well. She recalled how Marilyn had asked, "Who's that pretty brunette sitting by the lake with Frank and Monty?" I was shocked. I couldn't believe that she noticed a stranger sitting in the heat, but Evelyn insisted. I would have loved to have known her. I would have understood her, I think. To me, she was a vulnerable woman who only wanted to be accepted and loved, but somehow was mistreated, used, and often abused by Hollywood, the studio system, and by men. Just thinking about her makes me upset at how many people take others for granted and often don't appreciate them until it's too late. Marilyn was one of those who wasn't helped soon enough. Now, because the Riverside Hotel extended us another 6 weeks, we stayed in Reno long after the film company left. But at the end of August, the job finally ended, and we finally had to contemplate the future. And that was our dilemma. By this time, I'd become intoxicated with show business. I glowed on stage and thrived in the ambiance. School, by contrast, was dull and unglamorous, a very poor second. In the back of my mind, I knew that I should complete my education, but I knew what my heart had told me to do. Scott also shared my sentiments, but Ring and David Zering weren't quite as sure that they should drop out of Northwestern for the slim chance at stardom. Especially them. They're just musicians in a band, okay? They were not Anne Margret. And, you know, they were smart to question that. I mean, they're out there in California playing gigs in, you know, casinos and hotels, which is kind of cool and all. But they weren't getting rich. They were having fun. So let's see what happens. It was a tough, agonizing decision, but the right one for them. Scott, who'd already received his diploma and was in graduate school, chose to stick with the subtle tones and see where it led, and so did I. There wasn't even a question, just a proviso. I needed to get my parents' permission. So I guess two of them left. Anne stayed. Scott stayed. I don't know who else did, but I would almost guess. Yeah, I'm yawning again. I would almost guess that it would be the drummer. Drummers, you know, they're drummers for a reason. I have to, it's funny. I'm going to put this down here for a second. I do have some drums in here. I'll play some drums for a second for y'all. If I can do so. All right. Let's see. Oh, that's loud. My wife's going to get it. anyways, drummers are frequently called, and this is no insult, but dumbers. You know, they're not though. I've known some smart drummers in my lifetime, but they're more. I don't want to say creative, more independent, I guess maybe, than most musicians that I've known, guitar players, bass players. So, anyhow, I hope you enjoyed that chapter 11. Hope you keep coming back. We'll do chapter 12, either later on or tomorrow. And yeah, you know, I've never... The lady loves me, but she doesn't know it yet. I never tried to play the song. Probably wrong key. The lady loves me, but she doesn't know it yet. Anyhow, I don't think I can write any songs about Anna Margret. I mean, I just don't have the inspiration to write songs about Anna Margret like I've done for Elvis or, of course, for my wife, you know. I forget that I play guitar, you know. Because you know, when you have a regular job, you're always doing paperwork, or reports, or on the phone, or visiting with guys in the field, and then I do recording videos, and I guess it'd be the perfect time, but you know, there's been times in the last 2-3 years where it's been months between picking a guitar up, you know, and I play bass, play piano, play guitar, play drums, trumpet, or I have played, and maybe I'll do a live at some point and do some songs, you know. Here I am down on my knees, where I've never been more sure. It's a big step that I'm taking, asking for your word. That's a song I wrote 25 years ago, maybe 28 years ago. One of my first recordings in Nashville, called Perfect Picture. I see you and I holding hands, buying our first house. Yeah, I still can't sing, actually. So, see, my voice is still, people say, hey, you know, if you're really, really sick, go see a doctor. It's not that I'm really sick. It's just during the wintertime leading into spring, I lose a lot of my voice. So it's hard to sing. The talking's a bit scratchy. Throat's a little sore. It's allergies. But, I mean, no matter what I take allergy medicine, it doesn't fix it. Anyhow, TCB TLC, thanks for joining me. And like I said, look for other content, and I hope you watch it. I hope it's something that's watchable for you, first off. I've tried to include a bunch of very cool pictures of Elvis, or whatever the subject is. But it's going to be Elvis mainly, but there'll be other legendary figures. Maybe do something on Clark Gable, you know. Yeah. All right. Till next time. This is Elvis and the Legends.